summary of, this is not counting towards those videos that I promised tomorrow. This video is just a summary of what we already went over today. So we spent an hour and a half on training. All right. Hopefully this is actually taping. Let me make sure that it is real quick. 1 second. So this is just meant to be a summary of what we did earlier. Okay, and earlier, if you don't remember, if you weren't on, it was an hour and a half long video. There's no way that we're going to capture every little bit of what we did, but I wanted to summarize the notes for whoever wasn't able to be on there, just to make sure that you had all the information. Make sure that you're able to see what it looks like we are live. Okay, cool. Just to make sure that you're able to see what was going on. All right, great. So we'll dive right into this then. All right, so how do I minimize this meeting? There we go. Okay. So we talked about, it was all about lead quality. We wanted to get to more stuff. And if you remember, we talked about getting to going over dealing with objections and whatnot, and inevitably we'll make videos about that tomorrow. But we didn't fully get involved in that yet. So we won't go into much of that. We're just going to go over lead quality. We're going to hit all the bullet points, and I'm going to go through the notes that we took today. All right. So first, we talked about the way that what the goals are, when it comes to not homes and no demos. Right now, we're sitting between a 10 to 12% not home ratio. We should be sitting, by the way, at just to explain it, we should be sitting at a 6 to 8%, 8% at the maximum. And we've been there a long time. So there's definitely stuff that we can do. And we talked, by the way, too, transparently about what kind of issues can come up with sales reps and things like that. But we understand that we are the most accountable for this metric, and we can impact it the most. And so it's sort of a moot point talking about anything else. All right. So we talked about the different elements of the script that are supposed to have to do with quality. Okay. Starting off with the commitments from the customer, the fact that we need to set aside at least 90 minutes for all appointments. Okay. At least 90 minutes is a key term there. The fact that we need all owners home for the appointment, and then we need to make this extremely clear for customers. So we started off with that. After that, we ended up going into, let's start off with that stuff. So we talked about not wanting to leave things for the call center as well. And some current issues that are going on right now, like people setting up quote unquote tentative appointments that aren't really set. Technically, those are callbacks, right? A tentative appointment would be a callback, all right, by all standards. And so how we should not be doing those things at all, and how those things are the burden right now on our department. Okay, so just to go through that, at least 90 minutes, both customers means anyone in the house that could be considered a decision maker. Okay, we talked a lot about that today. It's difficult because you can't say decision maker to the customer because that's an opinion, right? Now we can decide what a decision maker is, and we know that people in a decision maker position would be anyone that is going to have any kind of input. By the way, right or wrong, any kind of input on those windows. We can't decide who's right or wrong in that scenario. If this person, by the way, too, if a customer moves in with somebody that they're dating a week after they meet them, and they tell you, yeah, this person's important to the appointment, well, then guess what? They just made that person important to the appointment. It has nothing to do with your decision or whatever. Should that person be important to the appointment? Probably not, right? It doesn't really matter. They made them important, so you have to have them there. And we've been telling people about these tentative appointments that does not exist. That's not a thing. And calling people before the appointment. We don't call people before the appointment. Even if it's set out a week, you don't want to say that. And the reason why is because of cancellations. You're giving that person an out. It's easy for that person at that point to be able to go, oh yeah, okay, sure, no problem. I'll take an appointment, right? Because of that. But it's most important not to lie to them and tell them we're going to call them in a 24 to 48 hour window, because we're not. And we don't want to have to. It's more difficult to get a hold of people, and even the good appointments will cancel in situations like that. All right. So one of the other things that I think that exists with us as a staff, because we have a lot of people that are really good at getting appointments, it becomes easy to ignore the warning signs. Customers will hear what they want to hear from people that are getting a lot of leads because they're very good at dealing with people. The canvassers are, and so a lot of times the customers can kind of ignore what we're saying, and you can tell if you pay attention. You can tell when they're ignoring that. You can tell when that's happening. It's just about paying attention to it and looking for the warning signs. Good. All right. So the things that we can do to fix this. Number one, need is extremely important. And so there needs to be a filling of need by the end of the appointment. It's not going to happen sometimes in the middle of the appointment. Okay. So in the middle of the pitch, or right in the beginning of the pitch, that customer doesn't know you at all. Think about for a second what's going through their head. Okay. It's not, oh man, this is so important to me. Even when you start going through the problems, their inherent reaction is not going to be, oh yeah, okay, I need windows. All right. They're thinking in their head, oh man, this guy shouldn't have opened the door. Why is this person at my door? I don't want to deal with this right now. That's what they're thinking when you first show up at their door. So I don't think that changes much between the beginning of the pitch and the need. They're not going to look at, for most people in most situations, even with our best canvassers, they're not going to be thinking, oh my God, this is transformative. Thank you. God, thank God that you're here. You were God sent to me. That's not what they're going to be thinking. They're going to be like, okay, how do I get this done? Right. So remembering that there's two parts to the window problems is extremely important. Okay. The first part is in the beginning of the pitch. All right. And that's when you're trying to hook the customer into the appointment, into the canvassing appointment. This is not, by the way, this is what allows you to generate interest for the rest of your pitch. This is not what solves the problem. This is not what gets the appointment down. This is not what makes people feel confident in what you're doing there. Okay. What that's going to come eventually, but that doesn't come. This is to hook them into the appointment. So you got to remember all this stuff that you're doing. Your job when you're there, when you're trying to get people into this appointment here, you're going to talk a lot about, hey, this is a free quote. This isn't something that you need to do. This is just a free quote. It's good for a full year. All this stuff. So in between your need commitment and the end of your pitch, there's all this stuff talking about how they don't need windows right now, or they don't need to be interested in windows right now. All of that stuff, you have to work that back up. And that's why, guys, we have the second half of our need, okay, when it comes to gathering the information right here. And this is probably the most important thing that you can do. So when you get down to the second half of the need section, by the way, you don't even need to have any need by the time you get down there. That customer could think their windows are fine. They have to be willing to get an appointment because you want that part out of their head, okay, out of their head. So you've created maybe the reason why they even want an appointment or are okay with getting an appointment. It's not about one. Maybe the reason why they're okay with it is because you've convinced them, hey, look, man, it's just a free service. No big deal, no big deal, no big deal. You've lowered their commitment level so much. They're like, okay, whatever. They're already in the neighborhood. There's not much enthusiasm for an appointment even by that part. That doesn't matter. What matters is what happens from this part, the gathering the information part, to the end of the pitch. That's what matters when it comes to appointment quality. And as long as you can take those two things and separate them, then you're safe. This is completely safe for you to do, but you have to do it. We have way too many canvassers that are doing the first part and never doing the second part. They're never working that quality back up, and that's what's causing the issue. Okay. So how do we fix this? Well, when you get down to that part where you're going through the window problems, okay, where you're going through gathering the information, it's all about what you do at that part. So first, you don't want to go through them like a list, even with the customer. Sure, it's better for you to turn the iPad to the customer and show them and go through with them like that if you're going to go through a list. You don't want to say, hey, do you have any other problems? Okay, cool. You don't want to do any of that, though. Because if you just go through the list format, you know what they're going to do? They're going to look at it and go, oh, no, they're fine. Like, that's it. I mean, I'll take a look, but just because it's free, but, they're fine. That's what's going to happen if you just show them a list of problems and ask them to pick from the list, okay? Now, If you work with them, that's different. Okay. You don't just want to click buttons in the needs section either. You want to go through exact notes. Okay. Have a conversation with them in a meaningful way. And I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that I go to a house. Okay. This is reminiscent of most customers. Let's say that I go to a house and that person's like, no, look, I really don't need windows. They're fine. I don't have a problem. My windows are cool. Like I have no issue with them. Okay. And I convince them to schedule an appointment based on the fact that the windows are 15 years old and vinyl. And I tell them, hey, I see some problems here. We'll point out some issues to you. We'll show you. Okay. And I tell them that so they're amenable to an appointment. They just don't see the importance of it yet. So by the time I get down to this second needs section, they know their windows are warped because I've told them. They know that their neighbors have gotten their windows replaced because they're drafty because I told them. And I pointed out maybe some oxidation in their windows, some breaking down of the material, but that's it. They have no guarantee of problems. They don't feel comfortable with the problems. They're just like, whatever, you're out here anyway. Sure, I'll schedule with you. So the classic bad appointment, okay, not a good appointment at all. So I get down to that second section and I get down to the iPad. And I say, okay, well, look, before I go, I just want to go through a couple more things. I want to make sure that you're comfortable with the information that I'm giving you here. So first, we talked about you having 10 windows, correct, in the house? Okay, and they're all 10 to 15 years old, but you're not exactly sure because you just moved in. Okay, now you had told me that you weren't experiencing many problems, but you've only really been here for one winter, didn't you say that? Okay, and so you haven't really dealt with drafts yet, but it doesn't mean that it's not something that could be there. It just means that it's something that maybe we should check for you to see. Okay. All right. We could definitely do that where to see how much energy you're actually losing through each window. We'll check that for you. Now, I did point out to you, sir, if you remember that the front windows right here, there is some warping there. And I want to show you specifically where that's at because I don't want you to think I'm lying to you. Right here in the middle bar on the windows in the sash, okay, where the locks are, you can see where they're dipping down and there's some warping there. Okay. Do you see what I'm talking about? And it's not super severe, fair enough, right? You said that you don't have a problem locking the windows, but they might be a little bit hard to open and close. You haven't tried to open them that much, you said, right? Yeah, okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah, and maybe you can try that between now and the time that we come out to see you, just to see how that works out for you. But I'm going to put them down here. I'm going to put that down here just for them to check. All right. Now we also talked about oxidation, sir, which is a wearing down of the material. That's why they look the way that they do, kind of like they're the plastic is starting to break down. Now, all these windows in your house, you said were vinyl windows, correct? Okay. Well, sir, I'm just going to go through a couple more problems that are very common and just really think about this, okay, for a second. First of all, your screens, it looked like there was a couple that were kind of worn down up here. Is it the same thing throughout the entire house? Okay. All right. I'll mark that down then anyways. We can talk to you about that. We don't just do screen replacement, we do full window replacement, but screens are obviously part of the windows. So that makes sense. And the sills, sir, are they all made out of wood? Okay. And I didn't see a lot of rotting up here, sir, but we do see some paint peeling. Did you notice that? Yeah. And I mean, that's common. I'll mark that down here though, too. Okay. That there's just a little bit of paint peeling. I'm going to put it specifically though, just a little bit. Okay. Now, what other problems can you think about, sir, that you're having? None. Okay. Yeah. And I said, like I said, that's good that you haven't noticed many problems yet, too. But we'll check those out while we're out here. That being said, we do patio doors as well. I don't think that I mentioned that to you. Now, I know the rest of your neighbors have patio doors, and a bunch of them have some pretty beat up sliding glass doors. How old is your sliding glass door? Oh, okay, so it must seem a bit older then. Okay. Now, would you say, sir, that one is a little bit hard to open and close, or very hard to open and close? Okay, just a little bit. All right, well, I'll mark that down here too. We can take a look at that. Now, a lot of times too, sir, those big doors like that can become a security concern. A lot of the locks go on those. A lot of the hardware goes as well. Would you say that yours, do you have to put like a stick in there to make sure that it doesn't open? Okay. So it's a little bit worn down, but not much. That's fair. I'll tell you what, sir, too. It does work temporarily. I mean, it's not something that you want to be doing forever, but if you take like a broomstick or something like that, at least until we get out here, and you put it right in that track there, then at least nobody can open that door. Obviously you don't want something dangerous like that going on there too. But what I will put down here is that we have all kinds of extra security locks on our patio doors, especially our sliding doors. Like we have kick locks that can also go with the regular locks, and they're super secure. So I'm just going to put down here to show you that while they're out here. Might as well. Now, the entry door here did look like it was brand new, sir. Do you know how old this is? Okay, that was put right in right before you moved in. All right, cool. Then we won't even talk to you about that. But if anything does come up, of course, between now and then, then you can feel free to write it down or something, and we'll make sure that we check it out while you're out here, while we're out here. Okay. All right. So you see that conversation, guys. It's obviously a very full conversation. I was kind of putting on a little bit of a show with it. You know, it's like that's a long conversation to have. But if even at the bare minimum, okay, there's not a lot of problems there. My job is to make them as interested as possible in the service that we are providing. Okay, in the service that we are providing. Um, and so that's why I do that way. Now I have if I was I'll give you one more example. How about that? Because I do think that that's not really the average. The average person you're going to see a couple problems. Admittedly, I'm setting up that lead as like a completely blind. There's not many issues at all. Okay. Um, let's say that the person is an older person that has original windows, but they just don't feel like they need to do them. You know, so I convince them to get an appointment, but they're getting an appointment because they know they need them, but they know they're not going to do them. They don't have the money to put aside or anything like that. Okay. All right, so now we talked about some of the windows here, and you told me that they're old and whatnot, but you're not really seeing problems with them. And you said that we could come out and check them out because we're in the area, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to do that, sir. I did just want to point a couple of things out before I write these things down. You know these are single pane. We talked about it. We talked about you know what the meaning of single pane is. It's just one piece of glass separating the inside from the outside of the house. So you're well aware that these windows they were probably never energy efficient, and windows today are a lot more energy efficient than that. Correct? Okay. I'm just going to put that down then. Now you said you don't feel a draft in your house. I'm guessing that the heat's working pretty hard in the wintertime then and the AC in the summertime. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to put that down that your AC and heat is working very hard here as well. And that can put a lot of strain on an AC unit. For example, I know a friend that their AC unit was just bleeding energy, and that's something that can wear those things down a lot quicker. So we'll take a look at it while we're out here. Now, I did notice, sir, that all the screens were gone on the windows. How long has it been since you've had screens on these windows? Okay, it's obviously that's not a super important thing, sir. But we might as well look at it while we're out here too. Now, these do have it looks like metal casings around the storm windows around some of them, and they did look like they're pretty rusty. Has that been going on for a long time? Okay. When's the last time that you opened and closed these windows, sir? Okay, yeah, I know you said you don't have to open them and whatnot, and that's great, but it did look like a couple of them were painted shut. Did you do that yourself, or was that like previous owner? Okay, all right. So that's been going on for a while then. Yeah, and I get it. Look, at least central air, you don't feel like you need to open the windows. I'm sure that sometimes fresh air is nice to get in or whatever, but hey, to each their own. Everybody has their thing, right? So look, so I appreciate, and so I'm just going to pretend like there's nothing else there. It's just the windows. Let's just use that as a scenario, guys. Okay, so my point is that you don't have to have these significant issues. The customer needs to feel like they're not being lied to. They need to feel like they're not being like it's not being the problems are not being overblown. Okay, they need to feel like we're giving them a service. Like we're again we're going to come out and check these things out for you, leave you with a free quote. Okay, now, one thing that I did forget to mention in this part is you want to make sure that if that customer is a yes person and you feel like that customer is not really interested per se, like they're not giving you this high level of interest or whatever, then reconfirm with them. Hold on one second, pause. All right. So you know, if you still feel like you're not confident in this, and this is where you got to be really honest with yourself, because it doesn't hurt you at all, guys. What hurts you is the fact that a lot of times these appointments go as not homes. I mean, we went through the numbers today. What was there? 40 potential not homes that we could have not had. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a significant amount. 40 potential not homes that we could not have had. Okay. Now, is that an exact number? You don't know. Maybe it's 10 or 15 or 20. What I know is that those are wasted opportunities that are putting our sales reps in a bad place. And we talked about the cost and why it's so important to both the reps, but also to the company too. Let's say that you're like, look, I don't care. Obviously not the right attitude to take, but let's say that you're like, look, I don't even care about that. Even to the company, it's a bad thing too. To you, it's a bad thing too. It's costing you a lot of money as well. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you still don't feel confident in this appointment's quality, guys, then be honest with yourself, okay, and recommit the customer by explaining to them exactly what we're going to do. So you go through all the window problems, and you say to that customer, look, I appreciate the time to come see you, sir. We'll have somebody come out and they will assess all these problems for you. And they'll tell you honestly whether or not they think it's a serious issue for you. But the biggest thing is we're going to, again, leave you with a quote that's good for a full year. So you have all that information and you can call us back whenever you want. Okay. It's stuff like that, recommitting the customer, that matters and makes a huge difference. Okay. All right. After that part's done, guys, then we get into the 2 commitments. And that's extremely important for what we do. You need to make sure you're putting emphasis on the 90 minutes. Okay. So, and Mr. Jones, to do this for you, all that we need are 2 things. Okay. So need are 2 things. First, we need you to set aside, emphasize the need you to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. Fair enough? Get them to answer that fair enough question. And second, sir, when we visit to discuss a project, we need to meet with all owners of the property. And that could be you, a spouse, a family member, or significant other. So who would that be? Okay, great. What's the name? Do not accept any lies. Okay. And it's easy to accept lies. It's easy to look past. If a customer is like, well, no, I mean, my wife, but she's not a decision maker. That did not feel good. A decision maker, then it's easy for you to, I shouldn't do these things live. Stuff like that happens to me all the time. It's easy to say, oh, well, she's not a decision maker. You need to see through that. You need to call that out in a customer. Okay, sir. Well, we do consider that person a decision. And there's rebuttals for this, but at the very core of it, if you need to, we do consider. I understand that you might be the person that makes those decisions in the home, sir. As you can imagine, as a company, we don't know that when we show up out here. So we do need you both there for the appointment. But I promise you, we'll find a time to accommodate the both of you. Okay, now a couple of rules. Don't set up for translators, especially people under the age of 18 and young adults, because we can't be accountable for what they say. Keep in mind, if they have their 15-year-old kid try to translate for them, that can cause a lot of problems for our company. Okay. Some of those situations, by the way, it's not that we won't run them. You know what I'm saying? We can't say, hey, no, we can't. You don't speak English. We're not going to set this for you. But we might take that as a callback to make sure we get the proper person out there, because we don't want someone out there that's just going to waste their time. Okay. No renters or children of owners. That should be a pretty obvious thing, but we don't do stuff like that. And again, you might, it's obvious and it doesn't happen often, but it's happened. It's happened before, more than a few times. Okay. So it is important for me to call out. Understand that they both need to be there for the entire time. This is not a situation where, Mrs. Jones needs to go pick up little Billy 30 minutes into the appointment. If that comes up, guys, you need to call that out and make sure. Now, let's say that comes up and it does, and then they get on the phone and they schedule, and that can become a thing. Then your job is to, when they get off the phone, to say, hey, Mr. Jones, don't talk over the call center, but when they get off the phone, say, hey, Mr. Jones, you know what? I know that you said that Mrs. Jones needs to go pick up your son in the middle of this appointment. Would there be a better time for us to set for? And then, of course, we shouldn't be setting up, and it's come up time and time again, we shouldn't be setting up people that are not mentally capable of making a decision. Somebody with dementia, for example, we shouldn't be scheduling for an appointment without their caretaker or whatever, their power of attorney there. The rest of your pitch is going to be devoted to quality of appointment. Okay. So gathering the information we talked about, the window problems, making sure we have the 2 phone numbers. Guys, the 2 phone numbers we assessed today, like 8 different leads picked randomly from the beginning of a day. 8 different cancellations. 7 of the 8 had 1 phone number. 7 of the 8. We literally picked them in a row. Like we didn't pick on, oh yeah, well, just this person's leads. We picked 8 in a row, roughly. I didn't know before I picked them. So that was it. That was us doing a poor job of getting both people there. Okay, so I'm sorry, poor job of 2 phone numbers. Very important. Okay, box 1 and 2, they need to sign on every box 2, even on callbacks, needs to be signed. Extremely important. It's the law. It's important that we do it for our future numbers. We don't want to get those things flagged. Everything is checked and signed. Okay. If they don't check and sign for an appointment, because you do get that occasional skeptical person, but when I tell you it's occasional, I mean, I had 1 in the last 5 years of me canvassing daily. 1 person say, no, I'm not going to sign anything. And we ran the lead, and that was that. Okay. If they give fight back, then it's even more so you should be going after it, making sure they understand this is just about this appointment. Okay. Mention the spouse on box 1 as well. So I just checked out box 1, which mentions at least 90 minutes for both you and Mrs. Jones. Box 2, Renewal by Andersen does everything by the book. With the telemarketing laws being so strict today, we do need your written permission to contact you. Please check and sign box 2. Okay, getting the office on the phone. Never talk over the call center, even if they screw up. If they screw something up, then it's not okay, but we'll deal with it after the call. Okay, get done the call, and then we'll deal with it right after that if they screw something up. All right. If you run into a problem, you can call me. You can call your manager. And then you don't want to leave the hard parts to the call center. You need to make sure that customer is bought in before you get them on the phone. If not, then it's going to die on the phone. Okay. All right. Lastly, we're giving the customer a couple things, guys, that are meant to help with appointment quality. So the first thing is we're giving them an appointment reminder with color swatches on it, the different kinds of colors on it. And we should be giving them a call to action with that. Okay. So Mr. Jones, here's your appointment reminder. Please make sure you show this to Mrs. Jones. And if you want to save some time, take a look what the colors might look like in your house. You know, and so you're not saying, hey, this is going to take less than 90 minutes if you do this, right? Just, hey, if you want to save yourself some time. And it gives them a call to action to do with their spouse or with the second party. Give them a door hanger, even if they are home. Of course, they're going to be home if they schedule an appointment. Give them a door hanger either way, and point out the phone number. So, you know, look, we have these other promotions going on right now. These are the promotions that you get through us. They're better, you know, because I'm here talking to you today. That being said, I want to leave you with this. It's like a coupon that we leave on the door for people. But this has our phone number on it and my name, just so you know who came to visit you. Lastly, guys, it's a $500 gift card. That's what we're going over. All right, and you're going to present this to the customer in a way of a gift card, okay? So you don't want to tie it to commitment to buying. You want to tie it to commitment of the appointment on that day. So, Mr. Jones, because you've been so kind to me today, I'm going to give you this $500 gift card. This is very important. It's only good for the appointment date that we picked. And if you make any purchases, and this can go right towards that. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today, so on and so forth. Have a 30-second conversation with them after that. Okay. Easy 30-second conversation. Very, very simple to do, guys. But you got to make sure that we want to make sure that we're doing this because it's meant to get that appointment quality up. Okay. All right, guys. So we've gone through a number of different things here. Those are the notes that we took down today. Let me make sure that there's nothing else. That's it. I think this is a pretty simple thing to solve, really. I think the problem is that we're going out there with a layer of ignorance, and we have to be careful for that. Okay. It just, you know, it's something that it doesn't take us a lot of time to get good at this. Okay. This part, if you're getting appointments, this is the easy part. Okay. So look, if you have any questions, let me know. Last thing I'll say, guys, is remember before you get off the phone with the customer, if your not home ratio is high, then when really recommit those customers. And the way that you want to really recommit those customers, if it's high, is you want to make sure that you tell those people, you know, hey, look, this is very important. We're going to come out to give you a special visit. I know we are in the area, but we are coming out specially to see you. So please, if anything comes up, then please give me a call. Okay. Make sure that you reiterate that if your not home ratio is high, go through that stuff. A lot of you guys are losing a lot of money on this. Okay. So I know that this is again, a brief training video. I want to make sure that we went through all the notes. We will do more of this training as we head into August. So thank you guys so much for a tremendous month. You guys are the best team on the planet. Have a beautiful, beautiful